speak during public open session, but not at other times. The meeting is being filmed, and by being present, attendees are deemed to have agreed to be filmed and to the use of those images and sound recordings. I can advise that attendees should not disclose any personal information of individuals, as this would infringe the data protection rights of that individual. May I ask everybody to mute their microphones when not speaking? Apologies for absence. We have apologies from Councillor Bond and Councillor Frank Foster. Declarations of interest. Item 2, to receive statutory declarations of interest. Firstly, those which are pecuniary and then non-pecuniary. So does anybody have a pecuniary interest in any item on the agenda? No. Anybody have a non-pecuniary interest? Also no. Thank you. Item 3, Town Mayor's announcements. So on Sunday, the 16th of February, I attended the Stotfold Civic Service, accompanied by other mayors across the county, along with other dignitaries, and a 30-person strong rock choir who entertained us with several numbers in St Mary's Church in Stotfold. So a very enjoyable occasion. Secondly, on Sunday, the 26th of February, I attended the Leighton Linslade Civic Service, and I had actually already attended one there. So they've obviously changed the time at which they do theirs, because last one was late May of last year. It was a very nice service as well, well attended, and there wasn't a theme actually, but it was a good celebration of their community, with the mayor offering several awards to long-standing members of the community, which was quite a nice touch. Thirdly, this is a reminder that on Sunday the 12th of March at 12:30, we've had to move it forward because Potton have their civic service on the same day, is my civic service. So all councillors will have received an invite. You and your spouses, partners, children, dogs, whoever are all invited. I look forward to seeing you there. If you're unable to attend, could you please let Alison know, because we need to sort out catering and seating. So otherwise, look forward to seeing you there and assume you will be. Thank you. Fourthly, this Saturday, sorry, I'm doing this off the top of my head because I left my papers at home, but this Saturday, we have the official opening of a shop in the town centre. Its name is Willow. It's a chain charity shop set up by former Arsenal goalkeeper Bob Wilson over the loss of his daughter, and this is one of several very high-end charity shops, and I think will be a great addition to the town centre. So if anybody would like to come, I'll be cutting the ribbon at 10 AM, so you're welcome to join. Councillor Russell, do you have any updates? No. Okay, thank you. Sorry, we got through that. Item 4, public open session. To adjourn for a period of up to 15 minutes to allow members of the public to put questions or to address the council through the chairman pertaining to matters listed on the agenda. Each speaker will give their name to the chairman prior to speaking and will be given 1 3-minute slot. We don't have anybody in the chamber. Do we have anybody online? Okay, if you wish, anybody joining online, if you wish to speak, could you just show your virtual hand? Nope. Okay, carry on. Item 5, invited speaker. We don't have an invited speaker. Item 6, members' questions. Do any members have any questions? Councillor Alban.
Thank you. Do we have any information regarding closures of footpaths on the common? I've not seen this myself, but I've heard reports that there are signs up saying that some of the footpaths, at least, are closed until some date in March. Although I don't think it's having a great deal of effect, but yeah, it's very strange.
Thank you. No, that is very peculiar. Do you know about this, Councillor Pullinger?
Yeah, I am aware. So there was an incident on the common last week, I believe, where some livestock attacked some walkers. They were walking their dogs across the field, and the cattle basically stampeded at them and caused an injury to one of the people concerned, and that's the reason why I believe it's been closed. My understanding is the rights of way officer's on holiday this week, and so someone who I know was trying to get a further update hasn't been able to. But that's about as much information as I have as to the reason for it. And I would have thought that that the Fenreaves would have been notified, and that as a result we should have been formally notified about the closure, but I'm assuming we haven't been.
I did notice the social media commentary like you did, and I was also copied into the email traffic between the resident and CBC with no actual outcome as yet.
Thank you. Okay, hopefully that answers your question, Councillor Alban.
I'm not certain whether they're permissive footpaths or rights, proper rights of way. So
I think they are proper rights of way. If I'm not mistaken.
It's a mixture of both, I believe.
Okay. Thank you. Any further members' questions? Councillor Woodhead.
Thank you. Just a quick one. I know that we agreed in the recent budget to contribute towards the community agent, and I was just wondering if it might be possible in a future meeting to invite her back to talk about her work. I know we've done this on a previous occasion, and also maybe to provide updates as to what they're actually doing. So I know we've done this before when we've had projects funded, etc. It'd be useful, I think, for council to be aware of that.
Thank you. I'm sure we can. I'm sure that's noted, and we can put out that invitation. Any further members' questions? Councillor Russell.
Could I just say regarding the community agent, I understand she's very new, so it might be as well to let her bed in for a month or two before we invite her. There's been a change since last time they came.
Okay. Yeah, she starts in the next week or so, so this might be one for later in April. Okay, any last members' questions? No, okay. We're going to go through the minutes of the last meeting then. So item 7, for members to receive the minutes of the Town Council meeting 14th of February. We're going to go through these firstly for accuracy first of all. So I'm on page 6. Councillor Strawn.
Yes, there's one councillor missing from mention as far as I can see, neither apologising or present, Councillor Bond. So I'm not sure whether he should be included there. Was he present or was he apologies for absence? But he's not mentioned.
I think he was here, wasn't he?
I thought he was, but
yeah. Okay, so we add Councillor Bond to page 6 under present. Thank you. If only he were here tonight, he could have told us. Councillor Foster.
Just a clarification, really. We've got the chairman and the deputy chairman. Is that the correct terminology, or I understood that we were chair and vice chair? It may be just me being pedantic.
Okay, I don't know. Possibly. I think the main thing is to be consistent. So we are chairman. Chair is what we sit on, I believe, is the correct terminology. We're not going to go into detail on this, Peter, but do you want to comment?
Previous members have identified the fact that we're not physical item. Should be just wanted to change the
Go on, Councillor Foster.
I beg your pardon. Perhaps I should have rephrased it. It's the fact that it says deputy rather than vice. That's my understanding.
I think this will be one.
The point has been made.
Thank you.
No further.
We have one for that's one for the Standing Orders Working Group. No. Page 6. Anything else on page 6? Page 7. Page 8. So I have one on page 8. I think under matters arising, the 2 items from exempt that were brought into open session, I think we need to state that under item 9, please. So that's under item 9 for consideration, but before 9A. So it would come under the heading at the very top of page 9, if that's okay, please. So if we can change that for accuracy. Anything else on page 8? Page 9? Page Councillor Strawn.
yes, I was just a bit unclear on the exact wording for D of 9D. Agreed either 24-hour working day or next business day. It doesn't make it in those terms of reading the context. It may make sense, but it doesn't make sense within that limited sense. It was about giving notice of the cancellations, I think, if I remember it correctly.
Yes, it was.
But it just doesn't read clearly to me because it's 24-hour working day or next business day. I don't think it reads quite right.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Pullen, did you have a comment on that?
I believe it was my proposal. So I think it was next business day was what we had said in the
right. Okay, so we strike 24-hour working day from the minute. Is that correct? Okay, thank you. I think we just need to be careful that when we are minuting that these are complete as a record so that we're not having to jump back and see what item 18 is sometimes, but that's fine. So we need to make that change on 9D. Anything else on page 9? Page 10, Councillor Knight.
Thank you. Item F, EV charging provision, last paragraph. It currently talks about enforcement, which was CBC's original proposal not to enforce. What we actually resolved was that there should only be restrictions within those times. So I think it needs to say restrictions rather than enforcement, please.
Thank you. Yes, and it was your proposal as well, I think, that actually, wasn't it? Can we note that as well, please, and make sure that that's correct when speaking with CBC? Anything else on page 10? Page 11, Councillor Russell.
I'm delighted to see this paragraph that we agreed last time about planning. But that paragraph that's under each of those items that starts the Biggleswade neighbourhood plan was meant to be the first paragraph in the letters of our response to Central Bedfordshire. And I don't think it's necessary to include it in the minutes for every item. And I think we would have saved at least a sheet of A4 if we hadn't have done. So great that we're using it, but it's for the letter, not for the minutes.
That's fine. I confess it was me when looking over the minutes that said we should put it in. So feel free to, I will redonate 15 blank sheets of paper to the council to reset that deficit. Thank you. Yeah, I hold my hands up to that one. That's fine. It's page 11, page 12, page 13, page 14. No, so we're happy that subject to those changes that these are an accurate record. Yep, thank you. Okay, item 8A, minutes of the council meeting from 14th of February. So these are for matters arising now. Same set of minutes. Page 6. Page 7. Page 8. Councillor Strawn.
Yes, what is currently referred to as matters arising, item 8. The Ivor Medical Centre and the meeting with stakeholders, has that been arranged yet? And if not, what progress has been made?
Officers, do we know this?
Karim has an update. In fact, we just spoke about it.
Okay.
Thanks. So we've contacted all parties and are awaiting their response in terms of arranging a meeting, suitable meeting slots within March at present.
Thank you, Karim. Thank you. Anything else on, thank you. Councillor, no, sorry, anything else on page 8? Page 9. Matters arising, page 10. Page 11. Page 12. Page 13. And page 14. No further matters arising. Okay. Item 9, items for consideration. So 9A, play areas project, Franklin's Recreation Ground specification, for members to receive and consider a report from the public realm manager outlining the public realm plan and specification for Franklin's Recreation Ground. Karim, is there anything to update on this?
No, thanks. Nothing for now.
Okay, thank you. So we open to questions and comments from members. Comments, please. Councillor Pullinger.
Thank you. So I've looked at this in some detail, and I recall that when we considered the actual play equipment, that there was an indicative figure of 20,000 for works that we would need to do to enhance the facility, and also that there was potential to receive a contribution from BRCC as well. I think the plan that is there and what is aimed to be delivered is quite good, actually, and I think it will overall complement the work and the investment that we're putting in for the play area. My only concern is whether there is a potential opportunity to seek Section 106 funding for this, and if that was possible, then obviously that would negate the need to use the Public Works Loan Board. That said, I think regardless, we should go ahead with these works ultimately.
Thank you, Councillor Pullinger. Councillor Russell.
Thank you. I agree with that. The only paragraph that I wasn't happy with, and I don't think officers are happy with it either, is the business about a temporary platform for live performances. And I think that's been dismissed within the report. I hope that's the case. If not, somebody needs to put me right. So, you know, I'd like to formally propose that we go ahead with the recommendation as on the officer's report.
Thank you. Okay, is there a seconder for that proposal? There are seconders. And just to be clear, so before, I'll just take comments from members in a moment. That's somebody arriving with their headlights flashing in my eyes, thanks. The recommendation for the officer's report doesn't say under the recommendation where the 20,000 would be sourced from. There's £3,000 mention of BRCC funding potentially, but the 20,000 isn't mentioned in the recommendation. However, I do note that at the bottom of Appendix 2, the indicative budget of 20,000 is indicating Public Work Loan Board. So is that part of the recommendation, Councillor Russell?
I think the recommendation should say that the money will come from the Public Works Loan Board if no Section 106 is available, and that covers Councillor Pullinger's point.
Thank you. Okay, so that's the recommendation. Is there a seconder for that proposal? There are seconders. Councillor Alban wishes to speak.
Yes, a question on the bottom of page 18. There is a potential for installing EV charging points in the future. That's confused me, because why would we want to attract vehicular traffic down that area unless it's for some other purpose? But yeah, I'd appreciate some explanation of that.
Thank you. Okay, we'll take further comments from members and then we'll keep going around. Councillor Foster.
Okay, a couple of things. Appreciate the fact that we've got the notes about the gate and the main entrance, £4,000 on the gate, main entrance and the rear entrance. I'd like to sort of, when we get to that point where we're looking at the detail on that, I think it'd be helpful for either plus or council to understand what that's going to look like. Secondly, given that we're investing the amount of money we are in the play areas, the fence along the front is at best utilitarian. I think there is a real opportunity there for us to spend a little bit of extra money on it to improve that part. So I think if we're going to do the gate, we need to consider the gate and the fence at the same time. But it doesn't say in the report, so I just want to make sure. And I think having seen an example in Potham where they've got sort of the black, I don't call it raw time, but sort of black, it actually just makes it look much better. So I think it's something we should consider there. I'd like to understand a little bit more about the officer's intentions with regards to wildlife camera. What's the sort of motivation behind that? It's in the plan. What's behind that? So from my understanding, because I don't really understand what we're trying to do there. And members will also remember my relative issue. Councillor Russell is smiling because she knows exactly what I'm going to say. If we're going to install benches, let's do it properly. Number one, if we're going to renovate the existing benches, there needs to be some symmetry in there. We need to do it properly and spend some time on it. And if it means we're spending the amount of money that we're spending on the play area, if it means we've got to, rather than having renovated benches in that area, we do the whole thing properly. I don't want to see a mishmash of different benches in different places, and it doesn't look great. Appreciate the fact that we've got the notice board and the bins. I think that's all good. So yeah, I just, if I could, officers could perhaps help me with the wildlife camera question, that would be great.
Okay, thank you. We'll come to officers shortly. Further comments? Councillor Knight.
Thank you. Just two comments. So I'm a bit concerned that 106 and exploring the availability of 106 almost feels like an afterthought, whereas to my mind we should be going there first and only considering a public work loan board as an absolute last resort, especially when you consider that 106 funding, it expires if we don't spend it. So it's really important that we make sure we check with central beds and all possible sources of funding. So I'd appreciate an update from the clerk in terms of, maybe there's more that isn't mentioned here, but I think we need to be really focused on that. And I don't like saddling the town with debt for 25 years if we can avoid it. And then on the notice board, I'm just not convinced we need one there. So we have a lot in town. They tend to get quite messy and they need quite a lot of maintenance. So I question whether that's really necessary.
Thank you, Councillor Knight. Further comments, Councillor North?
Well, just on the slightly wider issue of play areas project, we are beginning to think of the next stage of all this, which council has decided should focus on Kitelands and Brunel as priorities. And in this conversation with the town clerk, I'm proposing that we set up a working group to start looking in detail at the specifications for this, for those developments, and to get the whole thing moving, and indeed to carry on and look at other areas as well in due course of time. So the town clerk will be in touch with members soon to looking for volunteers to join a working group on further detailed planning of play area development.
Thank you, Councillor North. I think that'd be very useful. Councillor Strawn.
Whilst I have no objection to the principle of the working group, I am very mindful that in 2 months' time, none of us may be here for a variety of reasons. So I think it's, with respect, I think it's premature to create the working group now, but it should be one of the first things on the agenda for the new council. I think it's absolutely pointless having members who may be on a working group who may be removed voluntarily or involuntarily.
Yeah, very good. Councillor Pullinger.
Thank you. So just a few comments based on things other members have said. I think in relation to the EV charging points, I'm not sure, but I read that in the context to mean charging for electric bikes as opposed to necessarily electric cars. I agree with Councillor Foster's comments around the fencing. I think it's relatively inexpensive to acquire fencing compared with the cost of gates, actually. Having looked into something similar myself for another organisation. And then some comments really about the wildlife camera and the camera. I think I think where we are at the moment, and we're obviously going to be talking later in the agenda about security in that area, but I think we may not be in a position to be able to invest in a mobile CCTV camera or a permanent CCTV camera for that location at this point, and which means the wildlife camera may be more appropriate. But what I would suggest is that any infrastructure that's put in is future-proof to enable us to be able to power a permanent camera should we wish to in the future.
Thank you. Okay. Any final comments from members? No. So we have several questions for officers. Firstly, around EV charging, but also mention of the fencing, the cameras, the notice board, and then crucially, what attempts have been or could be made around Section 106. Do officers want to respond to any of those points?
Thanks. Just to say that actually Councillor Pullinger has answered, I think, most of them already on our behalf, essentially. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. Do you want a job, Councillor Pullinger? On the 106, though, I don't think that really has been touched on.
No. Do you want me to do this? Yeah. So I think Councillor Knight makes a valid point. There's been a conversation going on about this for quite some period of time, and there was an early conversation about an indicative figure of 20k being highlighted. This report kind of carries on that initial recommendation, but of course, we should actively pursue 106, and that should negate it. It just so happens, I think, that this is kind of an indicative yes, pursue it, go ahead, but at the same time, be very active in making sure that you can try and negate any costs with 106 funds, and obviously not pass them back to the developer. So we'll be making sure that our finance team does exactly that. Yeah.
Thank you. Just from my understanding, is there anything in here that, because if the Public Work Loan Board is taken out over 25 years or paid back over 25 years, is there anything in here by way of items that we might purchase through the loan that don't have a life of 25 years? Because we were very careful with the equipment to make sure that its expected lifetime is 25 years. Is there anything in here that might not be? Councillor Russell?
I think that's a bit like how long is a piece of string, given what we've been experiencing recently. How how badly is some of this stuff going to be treated. I mean, in theory, it should last for a long time.
Yeah. Peter?
And saying the obvious, some of this is more around, it's not only around, but it's more around beautification and making sure that the landscape is integrated properly into what is a kind of hard design.
Mm-hmm.
So some of that is green, and who knows what may or may not happen. But of course we're cognizant of that. But we need to make sure that if we're going to do some hard design, we need to make sure that it softens into the landscape at the same time.
Of course. Councillor Pullinger?
Just on that point, I think it's effectively part of the overall capital project, which has got a 25-year lifespan. So although some specific elements may not as a individually last 25 years, as the whole project, the vision and what this enables ultimately does, and that's why I think it is still appropriate, if we were unable to get Section 106 funding, that we can use the public works loan.
Okay. Are there any last comments? Councillor Knight?
So could I formally propose an amendment to remove the notice board, if that was acceptable to Councillor Russell?
Okay, so the proposal is for members to, well, it's not to note, I think it's to agree that officers deliver the proposed specification of improvements to Franklin sequenced with the main contractor using an indicative budget of 20. That word indicative, sorry. Are we setting a limit of £20,000 if it's Public Work Loan Board? Or if it could be Section 106, you know, if it's 20,000 and a little bit, what's council's position on that? Councillor Russell, did you want to just clarify?
I think it is an indicative budget. I don't see how we can be more precise at this time because we haven't got quotes. I would be very disappointed to see that we took more than 20,000 out of the Public Works Loan Board, but then we're looking at BRCC and we're looking at possibly being able to use some of our normal precept to do things. So I think it's a bit difficult. I hesitate to tie people's hands at this stage because this is such an important project, and I think we really need to make the best of Franklin's. But while I'm speaking, could I ask, Chairman, that we agree the 2 bullet points there, that we add in to include the fence along Mill Lane as well as the gate, that we look for Section 106 before we draw down PWLB, and that we're cognizant of our later discussions about security at Franklin's when we look at wildlife camera or not. So that we're not tying hands at the moment.
Okay. Did you want to add to that the working group as well for after the elections, or?
I'm happy to, so that it's formally agreed that,
okay,
as per what Councillor Strawn said, that we set up a working group as soon as possible in May to take things forward for other play areas.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for summarising that proposal. I won't repeat it then. Is everybody, Councillor Strawn?
Yes, I thought Councillor Russell added to the proposal set out, and she may have just covered it, that the money should be come from either Public Works Loan Board or from Public Works Loan Board arrangements if Section 106 money was not available. That I thought had been added to it in her original proposal.
I did say that just now.
Oh, right, I wasn't sure whether...
Okay, sorry.
Yep. Okay, I presume the second is happy with that proposal. That's for you, Councillor Pullinger, yeah. Okay, so it's the 2 bullet points as laid out in the recommendation, with a further point around sourcing this all from Section 106 prior to, and exploring that fully before using Public Work Loan Board monies. There's also comments around improvements to the fence along Mill Lane and cognizant of future discussions around security. Everybody clear? All those in favour of the proposal, please show. And that is carried. Thank you. And thank you for the paper. It's not easy always trying to pull various bits like that together, so well done. Item 9B, changes to Town Council meeting dates for members to receive and consider a report from the Head of Governance and Strategic Partnerships. So we have the report here. Krim, is there anything to add to this report?
No, thanks.
Okay. Comments? Councillor Russell?
Well, I was going through these dates and making sure things were in my diary, but we seem to have lost a council meeting in September. So we've got F&GP on the 5th, personnel on the 12th, and a council meeting on the 26th. And I think it should be council on the 12th and probably personnel on the 19th.
Sorry. Yeah.
This is on page 24. I think that's the right.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I'm a little confused because the recommendation is you're probably right. It's a changing of the dates that I think is particularly important here, this side of May, and then the annual statutory meeting in May.
Well, that's fine, but we've got here as a paper that only gives us one council meeting in September.
Okay.
And, you know, if it's been before us before, I hadn't noticed it, but I certainly noticed it when I was going through it. And we should have the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays.
All right, thank you.
Unless council later decides something else.
Councillor Pullinger.
I believe from memory, and it is from memory, that was something that was picked up when these dates were originally put before council and may not have been reflected in this version of the table. So I mean, I agree with what Councillor Russell says around those change of dates in September. I do have one question for the clerk, as the proper officer really in regards to this, and that's around the 25th of April meeting. Is there a legal requirement that we can't consider normal business at that, or is it just a feeling because it is close to the election that we shouldn't consider other business?
Peter?
Yeah, I mean, it's
Microphone, please. Sorry.
It's good practice, as we know, because of the elections that are coming up, not to deal with significant items so close to the election. Now, we have taken some advice from some members connected to this. We feel like it's a kind of satisfactory compromise that we might have a planning meeting, but not deal with anything too significant at the time. Yeah.
Thank you. Are we looking for a proposal then, Councillor Strawn?
Yes. Well, first I've got an observation. The meeting dates aren't correct historically, even in the fact that we've got a personnel meeting on the 7th of February, which in fact didn't take place on the 7th of February. I think it took place on the 23rd of February. So that is historically incorrect. But I would actually propose that looking at the September dates, that the personnel meeting for the 12th of September be moved to the 19th and the 12th of September be a normal council meeting. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I'm making a proposal.
Thank you. Does anybody wish to, and then does anybody wish to propose anything around the meeting related to the 25th of April and the annual statutory meeting as laid out in the recommendations? Councillor Russell.
I'm quite happy that if Councillor Strawn is happy to add those two recommendations, I think that's right. And can we please note to get that September Town Council meeting in? And I don't understand why, when we're looking at dates, we go back to the beginning of the year. If we've had the meetings, just take them off the list. It just makes it long and, I mean, you know, harder to see what's what. So I don't know, Councillor Strawn, if you're prepared to accept that.
Quite happy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the proposal is to move personnel from the 12th of September to the 19th, and for the 12th to be a normal council meeting. Also to accept the latter two bullet points as laid out in the recommendations. Is that fair? All those in favour of that proposal, please show. Everybody, thank you. Item 9C for members, so this is a CCTV update for members to receive and consider the response letter from Central Bedfordshire Council, which I've lost, which is not in the pack. Okay. How do we consider it then? Okay, this is Councillor Russell.
Having seen the letter and read it, I find it very disappointing. And I think we did look at this at one of the committee meetings, was it TCM, Councillor Knight, I think. And we expressed our dissatisfaction there, and perhaps Councillor Knight remembers exactly what we decided.
Councillor Knight.
Thank you. So I think, yeah, the feeling was that the Director of Place and Communities at Central Beds didn't necessarily understand what we were asking of them. One of the officers in the room at TCM mentioned the clerk now has regular meetings with that officer. So I inquired whether it would be possible for the clerk to meet with the Director of Place and Communities at Central Beds before tonight, which I know would have been a bit of a struggle, given that was a week ago. So I don't know whether you've had an opportunity to do that yet. But I know we're also attempting some correspondence through political channels as well to see if we can explain the situation, because essentially the officer at Central Beds is saying they need continuity of service, and we are explaining that we're willing to commit to maintaining the line and guaranteeing that continuity of service while Central Beds require it. Of course, we have a long-standing partnership on CCTV, so I don't understand why that's an impediment.
Peter, have you had a chance to speak with said officer yet or not?
I have not, no, but it will be
okay.
added to the agenda. I expect to be meeting with her within the next 2 weeks, so
Excellent.
I will feed back to members.
Thank you. Okay, I don't think there's much more to discuss on this then, is there? Unless anybody has any last comments? No. Item 10, planning applications. 10A, so this is 5 Mill Close, works to trees within the conservation area. You can read it for yourself. Pollard to remove weak unions of an ash tree. Any comments on this? No, note it. 10B, 8 Chaucer Drive, single story rear extension, including garden canopy roof. Comments? No objection, subject to our new wording. 10C, 45 High Street, installation of bird point spikes and steel mesh access gate. Any comments, Councillor Alban?
Yeah, I think we should move. No objection to this. It's just a shame that businesses have to go to these lengths to deal with the pigeon problem. I thought at one point I was seeing fewer pigeons in the square. They seem to have increased again. The flock is at least 50 individuals, probably more. So yeah, they are continuing to be a nuisance. But yeah, I'd move no objection to this.
Thank you. Okay, is there a seconder for no objection? Yes, there are various seconders. Any further comments on this? No, so all those in favour of no objection to that planning application? Okay, fine, that's carried, thank you. 10D, St Andrew's Church. Okay, I'm going to have a go at this. Ecclesiastical. Okay, come on, show of hands, who actually knew what that was? No, there we go. Okay, a couple. Ecclesiastical exemption from listed building consent. Did you just put that in there to wind me up, or is that actually on the planning application? Ecclesiastical exemption from listed building consent, installation of new bird flu outlet to be extended above its current outlet. Are there any comments on this? Councillor Russell.
No objection.
Good. Okay, any further comments on this? No? Nothing on the ecclesiastical nature of it? No? Okay, fine. All those in favour of no objection, do you want to just show? That's fine, thank you. 10E, warehouse, Bonds Lane, change of use from storage / distribution building to mixed use 2 offices. Any comments on this, Councillor Alban?
Yeah, I note the highways officer concerns about access and parking, the number of parking places available. I think the highways officer said there should be 4, and it's quite a small space. And the access and the visibility is at the back in Bond Street is pretty poor. So I think that concern is, for me, is enough to warrant an objection to this.
Thank you. Is that a proposal then?
It's a proposal.
Yes. So a seconder for that proposal. Yes, Councillor Ramsey seconding. Further comments? No. So the proposal is to object to this planning application on the grounds of insufficient parking. Noting the highways officer's comments around insufficient parking.
Insufficient parking. The access and the difficulty of the access as well.
Okay, so it's parking and difficulty of access. Yeah. Those are the grounds we're objecting on. All those in favour of that proposal, please show. Thank you, that's carried. Item 11, planning application outcomes. Report of planning application outcomes as of 15th of February. Any comments on any of these? No, do we note this? Thank you. Item 12, accounts. Councillor Pullinger, do you wish to say anything about the
Yeah,
accounts?
so I propose we accept the reports as listed in the agenda.
Thank you. Okay, is there a seconder for that? Thank you. Any comments? No. All those in favour of accepting the accounts, please show. That's everybody. Item 13, items for information. So as to car parking update, for members to receive an oral update from Councillor Russell. Councillor Russell.
Well, you've got a copy of the letter. I'm really sorry about the typo about night shirts instead of night shifts. It's very unfortunate, obviously not picked up by the spell checker. But apart from that, the letter went off, as you see, on the date, and we've had no formal response at all.
Okay. Thank you. Any further comments on this? No, I think we can perhaps note our thanks to Councillor Russell for trying to bludgeon through something which is not easy at the best of times, but I think we can, let's see if Asda do come back, we can bring this back as and when they do. Thank you. Item 14, public open session, to adjourn for a period of up to 15 minutes to allow members of the public to put questions or to address the council through the chairman in respect to any business of the council. Each speaker will give their name to the chairman and we'll have 1 3-minute slot. So we have not been joined by anybody, despite some lights flashing in my face halfway through the meeting. Has anybody joined online? No, so if you wish to speak online, just show your virtual hand. Nope. Okay, right, that's fine. So item 15, we have a couple of exempt items. Would somebody like to move that we go into exempt session?
Move it.
Okay, is there any